Ethan grew up in a neighborhood where trouble was easier to find than opportunity. His father had been in and out of prison, and his mother worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. By the time Ethan turned 15, he had already been arrested twice, for theft and vandalism. People around him said he was just like his father, and after hearing it enough, Ethan started to believe them. For years, he ran errands for local gangs, delivering packages and collecting money. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him power and fear, 2 things he thought he needed to survive. He told himself he wasn't hurting anyone, that it was just business. Deep down, though, he knew he was digging a hole he might never climb out of. One rainy night, everything changed. During a deal gone wrong, his best friend Marcus was shot right in front of him. Ethan froze, unable to move as Marcus bled out on the cold pavement. The sound of sirens snapped him back to reality, and he ran until his lungs burned. That night haunted him for months. Marcus's last words, "You can still get out, bro," echoed in his mind every time he closed his eyes. Ethan tried to bury the guilt by working harder for the gang. The more he earned, the more numb he became. But one afternoon, while hiding from the police, he took shelter inside a small church. The old pastor didn't chase him away. Instead, he offered Ethan dry clothes, food, and quiet company. It was the first time in years someone had shown him kindness without expecting anything in return. The pastor, Father Lewis, didn't ask questions about Ethan's past. He simply said, "You look tired, son. Maybe it's time to rest from running." Those words stuck with Ethan. For the next few weeks, he returned to the church often, sometimes to help clean, other times just to sit in silence. Slowly, he began to open up, telling Father Lewis bits and pieces about his life. Father Lewis listened without judgment. He told Ethan that everyone has a choice, even when it feels like the world has already decided for them. "You can't change where you came from," he said one day, "but you can choose where you're going." For the first time, Ethan began to imagine a future outside of crime. He started volunteering at a community center nearby. At first, he did it only to keep himself busy. But when he saw kids as lost and angry as he once was, something inside him shifted. He began mentoring them, teaching them how to avoid the same traps he'd fallen into. It wasn't easy. The temptation to go back to the streets was always there, but each time he helped a kid, the guilt he carried felt a little lighter. Months passed, and Ethan found honest work at a garage. He wasn't earning much, but it was enough to live without looking over his shoulder. One evening, he returned home to find 2 old gang members waiting outside his apartment. They wanted him back. The gang was losing ground, and they needed someone with his experience. Ethan's heart pounded as they spoke. The offer was tempting: money, power, respect, all the things he used to crave. But he also knew what came with it: danger, death, and a life without peace. He told them he was done, that he had found something better. They laughed in his face and warned him not to forget where he came from. After they left, Ethan sat alone for hours, thinking. He realized that walking away from crime wasn't a one-time decision. It was something he had to choose every single day. The streets would always call him back, but he had to be stronger than his past. When he told Father Lewis about the encounter, the old man smiled. "Hope isn't just about wanting a better life," he said. "It's about fighting for it, even when it's hard." Those words became Ethan's new rule. He started saving money to study mechanics properly and dreamed of one day opening his own shop. Not everyone believed in his change. Some people still crossed the street when they saw him. Others whispered about his past. But Ethan didn't let it break him. Every time he helped fix a car or guided a lost kid at the center, he felt a little more like the person Marcus had believed he could be. One evening, he visited Marcus's grave for the first time since the night of the shooting. He placed a small wrench beside the headstone, a symbol of the new life he was building. "You were right," he said quietly. "I got out." Years later, Ethan did open his own garage. He hired young men from the same streets he once roamed, giving them a chance to work honestly. The walls of his shop were filled with laughter instead of gunshots, and for the first time, Ethan felt proud of the life he had built. He still visited the church every Sunday, not because he had to, but because it reminded him of how far he had come. Hope had found him when he least deserved it, and now it was his turn to pass it on. Ethan knew he couldn't erase his past, but he no longer needed to. He had learned that redemption isn't about forgetting who you were, it's about choosing who you become. And for the first time in his life, he had truly chosen peace.